But I need you to realize that this situation is far more complicated than you could have imagined. You have traveled very far, and suffered a great deal to find your son. Well, your tenacity and dedication have been rewarded. It's good to finally meet you, after all this time. It's me. I am Shaun. I am...
Ha!
your son.
Okay, alright.
Oh, come on. That's crazy.
I assure you, I am completely sane and entirely honest. In the vault, you had no concept of the passage of time. You were released from your pod and went searching for the son you'd lost. But then you learned that your son was no longer an infant, but a 10-year-old boy. You believed that 10 years had passed. Is it really so hard to accept that it was not 10, but 60 years? That is the reality. And here I am, raised by the Institute, and now its leader.
They stole you. Kidnapped you. Wasn't right.
Right, wrong, irrelevant. It was necessary. The Institute believed humanity's future depended on it. At that time, the year 2227, the Institute had made great strides in synth production. But it was never enough. Scientific curiosity and the goal of perfection drove them ever onward. What they wanted was the perfect machine. So they followed the best example thus far. The human being. Walking, talking, fully articulate, capable of anything.
Human synths? Really?
Human-like synths. A great distinction. The Institute endeavored to create synthetic organics. The most logical starting point, of course, was human DNA. Plenty of that was available, of course, but it had all become corrupted. In this wasteland, radiation affected everyone. Even in their attempts to shield themselves from the world above, members of the Institute had been exposed. Another source was necessary. But then the Institute found me, after discovering records from Vault 111. An infant, frozen in time, protected from the radiation-induced mutations that had crept into every other human cell in the Commonwealth. I was exactly what they needed. And so it was my DNA that became the basis of the synthetic organics used to create every human-like synth you see today. I am their father. Through science, we are family. The synths, me, and you.
Oh boy, I don't know how to answer this one. That was a lot of twists and turns right there. All right.
Are you following?
And you've been down here the whole time?
I have. Yes. I know you must have questions. Please. Anything I can do to help you understand.
Kellogg. He worked for you?
Kellogg. He was an Institute asset long before I arrived here. It wasn't until I became director that I learned of all the things he'd done. What kind of man he was.
He was a murderer. He killed your mother.
Believe me, I am well aware of the atrocities Kellogg committed. I suspect there are many more we'll never know of. The Institute took advantage of Kellogg's vicious nature. I will freely admit that. Institute technology prolonged his life, and his usefulness far beyond any normal human lifespan. He never failed the Institute, but his cruelty became more apparent with every completed objective. I won't lie. It's no coincidence your path crossed his. It seemed a fitting way to allow you, us, to have some amount of revenge. What else can I say to ease your mind?
Your mother. She never got to see you grow up?
Yes. What happened to her was... I've gone over the records of the incident, of course. It seems her death was an unfortunate bit of collateral damage.
Sean, she loved you. So much.
I have no doubt. I'm afraid I have very little experience with those emotions, having lived my life within the Institute. For many years, I never questioned who my parents were. I accepted my situation, and that was that. With old age comes regret, and asking what if more often. But what matters now is that you and I have a chance to begin again. What else can I say to ease your mind?
So you're in charge of the Institute?
I am the acting director, yes. I spent decades working to reach this point. It's a responsibility I take very seriously. The Institute. It's important. It really is humanity's best hope for the future, no matter what those above ground might think of us.
It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you do.
I'm glad we see it the same way. Ultimately, the Commonwealth has nothing to fear from us. Whatever you've seen or heard, I know I can convince you of that. Just give me time. I know there's more for us to discuss. But the Institute is on the verge of some important breakthroughs. Your presence would be appreciated as we approach them. I've been a part of something amazing here. I've helped to build a life for myself and the people of the Institute. And now, after all these years, you have an opportunity to help with that. Doesn't that intrigue you? Isn't that what you want?
Maybe. I don't know. This is so much to take in.
I know. And I am sorry. You have been through so much in such a short time. The Institute can provide a better life than anything above ground. You've been in the Commonwealth. You've seen what it's like. I assure you that you are better off with us.
Alright, you know what? We're gonna agree. Just because I still believe that the Brotherhood of Steel, I don't know, something about them that bugs me. Guess we'll find out.
This really is a matter of...
Things are pretty terrible up there.
I've seen it myself. I know. That is why we are so committed to creating a better life for ourselves here. And it's a life that you can now be part of. I simply ask that you give the Institute, me, a chance. A chance to show you what I've been telling you. We really do have humanity's best interest at heart. Will you take that chance?
Let's do this.
All right.
Thank you. The Institute is now your home, as much as it is mine. Please take some time, get to know it. Meet the people you'll be working with. You'll want to introduce yourself to the division heads. Dr. Fillmore in facilities. Dr. Ao in SRB, Dr. Holdren in Bioscience, and finally Dr. Lee in Advanced Systems. They've all been notified of your arrival, of course. Meet them, and then we'll discuss what comes next.
Crazy. After all that transporting through space and time, I need to take a dump.
It's an honor to have you here, sir.
Oh, thank you. Oh. Zazati.
Almost done. Just need to tighten up this primary drive servo.
That's the third primary drive breakdown this month. As far as I'm concerned, the phase-out on these older models can't come soon enough.
Oh.
Remember to keep unnecessary power consumption to a minimum. Don't recharge unless your primary levels are below 2%. Also, if you haven't patched your navigation software, do so after this meeting. The last thing we need is more synths bumping into walls.
Opta.
It's a real juggling act, trying to keep all the systems down here operating in the green. This place might look shiny and new, but there's a lot of old technology in these walls. I lose sleep worrying about when the next blackout's gonna hit.
Looks like everything's running great. I'd say you're doing your job.
Hey, thanks. It's nice to be appreciated. Most people just take my work for granted. It's the kind of work that only gets noticed when something goes wrong, if you know what I mean. There's some stuff I need to check on. See you around, yeah?
Later.
Could have been anything. It was probably
You're here. Glad you made it.
Wow, this is crazy.
If it were just a limb twitching, but her eyes were moving as well. Involuntary twitching and rapid eye movements while sleeping can only mean one thing.
Excuse me, Doctor.
About to launch into one of your
It's you. You're finally with us. I just like to apologize for any trouble our citizens have caused you.
I've heard enough of them.
They, of course, couldn't be told of your
Write them
identity.
down from memory.
They have very specific protocols for protecting themselves and institute interests, most of which I designed myself. Not to make problems for you, though. Will you be staying with us then?
Yes, of course.
Ah, good. Sean is most pleased, I'm sure. He's been quite anxious to have you with us. If you require anything, especially as it pertains to synths, please let me know.
Sure.
We're all looking forward to working with you.
That's crazy.